that's moving into their in-laws. What some people don't understand and some parents don't understand is it's such a big change for that woman. Imagine you lived your whole life under your parents' roof. You know, they've been there as a support, as a guide, and now you're moving into somewhere brand new.
Yes, guys, what you say, my people? Welcome back to the After 5 Club. I hope you're all doing well. As always, thank you for your love and support on this channel, and not only on this channel, on our social media platforms as well. Guys, before we get into it, you want to do a quick update? How you guys doing?
Doing good, bro. How's life? It's been hectic recently.
Life
but
is good. Life is good.
It's
Not
good.
gonna lie.
I can't lie, bro. I've had the last week as annual leave, so I've just been sleeping late, watching Netflix, chilling.
In the gym? Can see you been hitting the gym, bro. Hitting the
Nah,
gym?
to be fair, I only just went a couple of times. That's it, but not on the regular. Not like you, innit? But yeah.
Not sicky like last time.
Yeah, but yeah, no, all good otherwise.
All good.
Yeah. So I haven't really been working.
Fair enough. Boys, should we get straight into topics?
Let's
then,
begin.
Yeah?
Yes.
Let's start.
Yes. Let's do this. Right, guys. I've got a serious question today. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is probably one of the biggest topics which come up in Desi households. Yeah. So the name of the topic today is related by law. Right. Does anyone know what that means?
I can have a guess.
Go for it.
Family fighting over land.
No, bro. No. That's a good one though. That's a good one. We can definitely use that in future.
We definitely need to. I think
100%.
every single Asian family has some involvement in land back home.
Yeah.
And siblings fighting over it. But that's for another episode.
I'm guessing something to do with in-laws.
Yes.
Am I right? Yeah.
So basically, I'll just tell you the background of the phrase in-laws. Yeah. In-laws is just a modern way of saying related by law.
Yeah.
Right. So if you actually research on the actual word, the original term in-laws, the original phrase is related by law. Okay. Right. So, without delaying this any further, my first question is about what a woman's expectations are when she gets married and what a man's expectations are when he gets married from the opposite person. Yeah?
Right.
So I know it sounds like a very brief question, right? But this question can go really, really deep. Yeah?
Yeah. The thing is, you can look at it in so many different perspectives, because you can look at it in an idealistic way where you want, maybe the man wants to be the earner, to be the main breadwinner, and then you want the woman to look after the house, look after the kids, inshallah, when in future, when you do have kids, look after the kids and that. But right now in modern society, I don't think you can do that. You need support from both sides. You need the man to be tapping into what the woman does and the woman to be tapping into what the man does. So the woman should be helping out, not should be, if she can, where possible, work and contribute towards earning, and also the man can sort of look after the kids as well. You know, it doesn't hurt for the man to start looking after, changing a bit of nappies or whatever, and even help out with the cooking. So,
I think realistically, that's looking like the only route
yeah.
to be able to have a good life with your family and a good balance, because childcare is so expensive. Not that I have any children, but just from what people are saying and just looking online, childcare is super expensive, and you need that support, not from your family as well, but from both husband and wife. It shouldn't just be the wife caring for the child. So expectations has changed over times, and I think we need to realize that and understand that. And yeah.
All right, guys. So I think what we're mainly focusing on at the moment is roles and responsibilities. Yeah. Let's. I'm trying to think of an example. I think basically what I'm trying to talk about is before they actually get married, what are their expectations? I don't know.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So let's just say there's a rishta now. Yeah, there's a boy and girl, and they meet for the first time. You've got the families involved, and let's just say they'll meet up in, I don't know, Costa. Chaiwala.
Chaiwala.
That's becoming a trend now, bro.
It is.
Do you see people like meeting up in Chaiwala?
I've seen lots of people dressed up coming to Chaiwala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could possibly be that they're doing a
It
little...
could be aunties and stuff like coming in with their husbands and all that sort of stuff.
Deka deki.
Deka deki.
Deka deki.
Yeah.
What do you guys say in
I don't know what you call it. We call it bad bucky, innit? Bad bucky.
Bad bucky, yeah.
Bad bucky.
Well, why are you saying it like that, bro? It's bad bucky, yeah?
Bad bucky.
Bad bucky hogi. Mithai khao.
Laddu kha beta. Laddu kha.
So that's the expectation, yeah?
What do you guys say?
Dekha deki.
Dekha dekhi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fine. Fair enough, bro. I had to add that.
It's not as bad as your one.
Bad bucky.
But bucky.
Bad bucky.
But.
So guys, yeah. So they mean in Costa. You just say yeah. They mean in Costa. The boys there, the girls there, and both their parents are there now. Yeah. And now they're having a discussion, in terms of what they expect from the marriage. So what do you think the conversations? What are the conversations they're having? What are the questions are they sort of throwing out to each other? Let's say for example, from the male side, from the boy's side, yeah, he's probably asking, is the wife willing to come and stay with my family? That's one big question I think that would be probably asked. And maybe from the female's perspective, she's probably asking, how much are you earning? How much are you earning? Can you provide? Can you afford a house? If we were to start living together, are you able to afford a house? Are you able to afford a mortgage? So think along those lines. What questions are they probably throwing at?
No, I totally agree. And I think, in all honesty, I think these questions are really, really important, but they can become really awkward as well, right?
Yes.
Like, as in,
especially
some
in the
families,
first meet.
yeah,
Especially in the first meet.
but they're really important questions. Like, of course, if you're going to give away your son or your daughter or something like that, you need to know, what these expectations are, right? So,
Yes.
I think there's no right or wrong about it. Of course, like, I understand traditional parents, they don't actually, they can find these questions too sensitive. Like, how much does your son earn, by the way? You're just like thinking, nah, mate. Why am I like? What's that got to do? Like, that's none of your problem. That's not your problem. That's me and my family's problem. Right? It's that traditional sort of boundaries that are put in place. These are cultural boundaries.
But do you think it's right to ask that question though?
I think it's important to ask that question.
But is it right to ask the question?
I think there's a way you can ask that question. There's always a different way to get the same outcome. You don't have to be direct and say, what is your salary? You can say, with your salary, are you able to provide? Are you able to look after? And you can kind of get your answers from there.
That sounds a little bit patronizing as well, though, isn't it? Like,
You're meeting in a cost. You're meeting at Chaiwala, bro. You can't get any worse than that. your standards has already been lowered.
That's true. I don't know. Like, as in, I think in terms of like, fine. We're obviously talking from a daughter's perspective, yeah, right. But what about from a man's perspective? Asking that question about, would the girl be willing to live with the in-laws? Yeah. I've actually come across like a few profiles in the past, right? Like, sorry, not for myself, yeah. Right, but I have come across certain profiles which actually say, the daughter will have to stay with in-laws, right? And then, like, for example, I've also come across certain profiles where the girls are like saying it quite clearly, clear cut. I wouldn't want to live with my in-laws, which is absolutely fair. And I think
that's fair enough.
And can I be honest? I think these agreements need to be made before marriage. Like, as in, they're really, really important, because obviously there's certain households who want their daughter-in-law to stay with them. They're quite traditional, they're cultural. Maybe find someone who's also traditional and cultural, right? But at the same time, there's also families out there who ain't so much traditional and cultural. And they might prefer certain levels of independence.
I think you also have to think about what is the reason behind the man asking the girl to stay with their parents. There's so many factors. It could be financial reasons. It could be they can't afford to move out, so they're not doing it by choice, but it's because they have to.
100%.
Another example is, for example, you have to think about siblings, right? Imagine you're the younger sibling and all your other siblings have got married and they moved out, and your parents are elderly. And you need to look after them. So you have to have that idea in your mind as well. Yeah. Okay, I'm not staying here because, I want to stay here, but it's because I've got a responsibility to look after my parents. And the only way that's possible for the short term is to live and get married in the same household. So we have to question these kind of things, and I feel like that's why asking these questions in the Deki is important, because someone just saying yes, we have to live with our in-laws, if you give a reason behind it and the true understanding of it, then it can make a difference.
Yeah, I think you still have to justify why you ask these questions as well, innit? I think for me the key is transparency. You have to be transparent in terms of what you ask, and otherwise you don't want to enter a marriage where you're expecting something and then you go into marriage and things change. At least if you're going into marriage, you know what you're expecting. You know exactly what's being asked of you in terms of in-laws, and in terms of what the husband wants and what the wife wants. Because the last thing you want is, let's just say you're married now, and you're saying, the husband says, yeah, I want you to live with my parents, and then the woman's like, yeah, that's fine. Later, like a year later, she's like, oh no, I don't want to live with my parents anymore.
Yeah,
understand?
Yeah.
Things that I understand, like situations change as well, of course, and you got to take it. You got to take it as it comes. But if you know what you're expecting before marriage, then it makes things so much easier.
100%. I think transparency is so important, and that's my advice as well to all the audience, is be transparent from the beginning, because when you are looking to get married, imagine you telling your wife, yeah, that's fine, we'll do this, we'll do that, you're doing this, and then when you do get married, you haven't been transparent and you haven't been honest. It's just going to cause more problems. So just be real and honest from the beginning. That way it makes it easier long term.
What about earning though? What do you think are the sort of questions you'd be asking if you're earning? Like, what are the questions would the girl be asking? Would she want to ask the question?
Can I be honest? I reckon rather than the parents ask that question, I think the girl and boy should be allowed to have these conversations in their alone time, when they're getting to know each other, and then, you know, because obviously when you're alone, and obviously because at the end of the day, it's not as though the family's going to be living with the guy. It's not going to be like, you know, at the end of the day, I think that girl needs to know, right? And same with the guy, like, as in, you know, is she a career-minded person? Is she someone who's quite focused on her career and all that sort of stuff? So I think, you know, they should have that opportunity to be able to have that sort of exchange.
Also, like, having that conversation from family is a bit patronizing.
100%, you know, 100%. And you know, who does feel comfortable talking about their pay in front of like 5-6 people? Like, as in,
exactly.
That's a very personal topic, isn't it? I think if anything, you can pretty much, I don't know. I'm actually thinking to myself, how would I perceive that question if that? Luckily, I never was put in that position. But as in, it's, I don't know. I think it is really, really awkward.
Do you think it's right for the male to be asking the female how much she's earning?
Can I be honest? No. Because I don't know. This is where my views, it becomes a little bit specific. Like as in, I just feel as though traditionally a man is, you're not a man unless if you're a breadwinner. 100%. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
So, of course, if the wife is working and she's got every right to work, right? But if she's, that's her choice, right? What she wants to contribute.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Let's say, for example, the male is earning a certain amount, and now you ask the female how much she's earning, and she's earning double.
I'm gassed.
Double.
I'm marrying you tomorrow.
Double.
We'll come back to Chaiwala again in a different branch and we'll get married there.
She's earning way more than him now. So
Damn.
does the expectations change now? Are the views different now?
Yeah, I'm gonna be asking her, so how are you gonna be my breadwinner?
If she's earning like twice as much or whatever, right? I think the secondary question is she career minded?
It's a very important question, man.
And I think then you need to be able to work out, is that something what you want? Whether she's going to be really focused on career and expect you to take the back seat a little bit more, or because there's lots of women who become very much corporate, and that's absolutely fine. Like that's very strong for them to do that. Yeah. Right. So, you know, a lot of respect where these where they are. But I think it's it can have an impact on family, of course. Yeah. Right. Like, as in, for traditional family households, it can obviously have an impact. So I think that's the more important question. I don't think like you know, the pay itself should have a huge impact.
Do you know what it is?
Right?
It's ego. it's 100% ego. Because you hear that she's earning twice as much as you, instantly your ego is hurt now. Because obviously as a man, you want to be the main breadwinner, you want to be the main earner, and when she's earning twice as much as you, you're like, oh, what do I do, man?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's the ego that gets hurt,
But
and we have to accept it as it is. We just have to accept it.
It depends on the actual female. If she's the type of person where she's expecting that her husband to be earns more than her, because if it just depends. It's about compatibility at the end of the day. I think before you ask these questions about how much you earn and everything, just put yourself in that position. You're about to meet someone for the first time in your life. You're not gonna. Yes, you want to know these answers to these questions, but say for example, the person is earning a lot of money. You know, can live, doesn't have to live with the in-laws and everything. But the person, you just don't get along, or you just aren't attracted to that person. Things like that. So I think in the first meeting, it's important to just feel that compatibility,
100%.
and then those questions can come maybe later on in that question, because once you're compatible with each other, that comfortability of asking these questions comes with it. And I think that's important too.
So I'll give you guys a little bit of an example. Yeah, what's a woman expecting, right? You know, traditionally, and in the modern world as well, the main list goes something along these lines, right? So like they want love, they want respect, they want to be cared for, they want to be looked after, which is absolutely fair, and that's absolutely fine, right? I think at the same time, before they're actually getting married, they're quite often thinking about, you know, they want to live this perfect life, right, with me, my husband, and my kids. They're not thinking outside of that box, right? I don't know. Is that? Are we sharing the same opinion?
100%.
Like,
Bro, I think, you know what it is? I think 100% females do expect that, and that should be base. That's the bare minimum they should be expecting.
Yeah.
But the reason why they do ask these questions, I think it's more so security.
Yeah.
They have to ask these questions because at the end of the day, look, you don't want to get yourself into a marriage where, you know, the guy's a bum and you can't look after the family, and you know he's neglectful with the family, with the kids, and he's not really someone that's driven or motivated, even in a work sense. So obviously it comes from a place of security. So I think they probably have to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Do you know what the problem is as well? It's I'm sure you've heard stories of people having these, you know, they had their keys and they're seeing each other, but either the man or the woman, one of them, they're putting on a facade. And that's the scary thing, because how would you now know that what the person is saying is the truth? And then when you marry them, then later on you realize, because everyone says when you get married and you live with someone, it's completely different to how it was before. Because we've seen so many stories of people that have got married and then they realize, crap, this person isn't how I assumed they would be, or the way they were speaking.
Not only that, it puts people off as well, man.
Exactly.
It completely puts people off.
It's
and
scary.
This is why like a lot of people are very like, they pushing marriage to the side, or they get married very late, a bit later.
I think yeah. In you know, these are the typical complications which would come up in most Desi households, right? And a lot of the younger generation, because they're a little bit more up to date with society, and they're not really as cultural as their older generation was. They're put off from marriage. You know, there's a lot of you know, distractions, and there's a lot of you know, you just think to yourself, okay, right, think about the percentage of the divorce rates. You know, obviously I know that's like that's another topic, and we go into more details later, because obviously this is, as I said, this is a big topic, right? So chances are we're not going to be able to cover this all in one episode, right? But just coming back to the question, you know, a man for example, his expectations will be, once again, love, care, respect, treat her parents with respect, you know, need to make sure I have my parents involved in the decisions that I make, right? For example, that can be to do with like buying a house, that could be to do with like investments, because obviously as a man, you know, you've not just got the responsibility of your wife and kids, you've also got the responsibility of your parents. You can't let go of that.
100%.
Right? Whereas traditionally, I'm just talking traditionally now, yeah? Not in the modern world. Traditionally, women, they are expected to somewhat, you know, like for example, not move in, but like for example, have more focus with the husband and you know,
His parents.
well, yeah, even that's changing now, right? But basically, she's going to reduce that input from her family, right? Most typically, most women, they end up leaving their family to go live with the husband, right? Now, the man is on the other hand, like, as in, obviously times are changing. Lots of men, they're also leaving the family as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, that original expectation, right? That's what I'm talking about. Because those expectations are not being met now, how is that impacting?
Can I just say, I think it all stems from culture. I personally think, look, if you actually deep it, culture is forever changing. What culture used to be 10, 15 years ago was different to what culture is now. In all sort of communities, in Pakistani community, Bengalis, Gujarati, South Asian, it's always changing, right? And now if we're focusing too much on culture, we're always going to be chasing what's the next culture, what's the next sort of tradition. I think, personally, if you ask me, don't move with culture, move with religion. Go with what religion says, and you'll be fine. Don't go with culture, because culture's it's a variable. Religion is always going to be a constant. So if you continue following the guidance of religion, I know it's a separate topic, but a lot of people are now looking at culture and thinking, oh well, in our culture it needs to be like this. In our regular tradition, this happens and this happens, and people are getting lost in trying to fulfill these traditions, and we just.
Bro, I totally agree.
You know
I 100% agree. I know. Just a little while earlier, you mentioned that it's a different topic, but it's related, right? So, you know, I personally think, you know, the basics of a human, you know, we follow religion, right? We don't follow our culture with everything else, do we? Why does it come to marriage? And that's when we remember culture. Do you know what I mean? Focus on the basics. Like, for example, you know, like as in, you know, obviously respect, care, love, right? But then at the same time, make sure you're meeting those basic necessities of a successful marriage, right? And but yeah, go on, Hobbs. I know you're eager to say something.
I'm very eager.
Say something.
This is something that I'm very eager about, and it's about how you were saying culture. And sometimes, if you really think about it, culture can make or break a marriage. And let me give you an example. So, traditionally in a Bengali community, for us, weddings, we have to go big. We have to go out of our means because of culture. What are people going to think? I'm just saying, traditionally, this is what people think, the older generation. Oh, if we don't have a bigger wedding, or if we do a small wedding, people are going to say this, or they're going to think this. So what I really do feel, and it's a perfect example, is COVID. So do you remember during COVID, weddings, you were only limited to, I think, 30 people you can only have. And that's when you saw a lot of younger couples getting married, having nikahs, not having to go all out and do big weddings and everything just for show. And I think it's opened a pathway for the younger generation to be able to, you know, say, listen, we're young, we don't have, our means isn't a lot because we're in the start of our career. We can have a simple nikah, we can get married, and we won't start our marriage on debt. Because really and truly, I know about 80% of marriages, you start off in debt. You've borrowed a lot of money to pay for your, you know, the dowry, for the mendi, all of these things. It's a cash loss. And that's why, and I think culture has a big thing to do with it. If you were to take culture away from that, you wouldn't have big weddings. You would have people that have just having nikahs and keeping it small. So again, we're heading towards the right path. I think people, especially in our generation, are realizing that we don't need to follow culture to be happy and to have a marriage. Like, put culture to one side, let's have a small marriage, keep it intimate. And you see less problems happen during the marriage, because once you start marriage off in debt, it's just like a domino effect.
I don't think you should neglect culture completely, though.
Not neglect.
You should keep it to a certain level, because my point is, don't compromise religion just for culture. If it's affecting religion, if you're having to spend loads of money and get yourself into debt, that's you're going against religion.
There's good and bad points in both, innit? Sorry, not in both. Sorry, I know religion. There's no bad points, yeah. Right, but what I'm saying is, with culture, for example, there's good and bad points, right? So there's as you said, Hobbs, totally agree. There's loads of certain expectations which don't meet the needs, and necessities of a successful marriage. In fact, they can just cause further complications, right? But for example, with sorry, I forgot what you were saying earlier.
Religion.
Yeah. With religion, for example, you know, like as in that kind of sets the basic, you know, foundations, right? That you know what, you can just do like a simple nikah, save costs, live on basic necessities, have your mind focused on your relationship, you know, thinking about respecting each other, knowing your rights as a man, as a woman, right, and stuff like that. But of course, we're not going to go into details of religion, right? But guys, look, obviously we've spoken quite a lot about expectations for a man, for a woman, and the sort of hurdles which can come up in a wedding. We're going to dive a little bit deeper, yeah? We're going to dive a little bit more deeper. And what I want to cover is what are the expectations of a typical Dersi household? Yeah?
So this is including like parents now, isn't it?
So this is including parents,
in-laws, everyone, siblings.
Yeah. And related to this, if it comes up during this conversation, we'll obviously go into it a little bit more. Something more along the lines of moving in, the expectation of moving in, whether that be a guy moving to a lady's house, whether that be a lady moving into the guy's house. Yeah. So, but let's focus on it just from a family perspective. What are the expectations?
I'm gonna start off with a bang.
Go for it,
I'm gonna give
bro.
you a stat. I'm gonna give you a stat.
You got some stats, yeah?
I've got some stat for you.
Go for it.
Right, I found this on Google. Dr. Google.
Dr. Google is our best friend sometimes.
So the stat is, there was a survey of married couples across not only the South Asian community, across all ethnic communities, yeah? And now the stat was saying 70% of married couples admitted that their relationship with the in-laws had a strain on their marriage. So it didn't lead to like divorce or anything, but it had a really big effect on their marriage.
Do you think the other 30% were just too afraid to say it?
100%. I'm joking.
Should be 100%, bro.
I'm joking. So what do you think of that? I mean, that's a big stat. That's a big number. 70% is a very big number. I mean, you'd think that obviously a lot of people would think that the in-laws are having a strain, but look, it goes both ways. I know a lot of people that say the in-laws are amazing. The in-laws are sort of, they help them out in many ways, they support them in many ways, they have no sort of strain on their marriage. If anything, they boost their marriage. If anything, they make it stronger. So let's look at both sides. So let's look at the side of where it does strain your marriage. So where do you think are the points where do you think it does strain your marriage in terms of in-laws?
Do you know what it is? First of all, I think before we answer that question, what we have to realize is as well, for a girl that's moving into their in-laws, what some people don't understand and some parents don't understand is it's such a big change for that woman. Imagine you lived your whole life under your parents' roof, you know, they've been there as a support, as a guide, and now you're moving in to somewhere brand new. And it's not you're moving in by yourself, you're moving in and you have to fit in with their family. So we have to take that as well. It's a big change for a woman, first and foremost. And yeah.
You know what, traditionally, yes, I would agree with that, yeah? But nowadays, I don't think that's the case. Right, the reason why I say that is because I don't know about the Bengali community so much, right? But I know in the Pakistani community, there's not that much adjusting. And the reason why I say that is because, bro, like, as in, let's be real, like, as in, loads. I don't know many Pakistani women or even mans nowadays who want to stay with family. Right?
That's true.
So as in, if that's already eliminated the mother, the sas bahu issues, for example, right?
Sas bahu,
bro.
Sas
bahu. Right. For those who don't know, it's mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Right. The typical sort of issues. They are the queen bees, and living under one roof can often prove to be really, really difficult.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of people are choosing to live out and separate early.
Yeah.
But I think one of the expectations from family is that they live with in-laws for a little while at least, isn't it? I think for me, ideally, I still want my wife to be with me for a couple months, living with my parents. So at least she gets that sort of feel of how it feels to be in that family.
Yeah.
And then if she wants to move out, she can move out. I mean, not she.
We
can move out.
Someone's already
move out. We can move out.
We know what the expectation of answer is now.
I'll say myself up for that.
I think it's interesting though, isn't it? Like as in, look, before you get married, you see your in-laws, you think to yourself, you know what, I can get on with my mother-in-law. She seems proper nice. You know, my sister-in-laws are proper decent as well. Like as in, yeah, man, we're proper cracking on and whatnot. This is all before marriage, by the way.
Okay.
And afterwards, as soon as you get married, 1-2 months later, you're living with the family. You start picking up on bad habits, right? The family picks up on bad habits of yours as well, right? So, you know, these things, bro, let's be honest, man. Like, as in, it's hard enough living with your siblings sometimes.
Yeah, you're right.
You know,
Very true.
as in now strangers come in who's had a completely different upbringing, who's lived their whole life in their own roof, like as in, you know, in their parents' roof, right? And now they've come into your house, as you said, Hobbs, like as in, you know, it's really, really, you know, you have to give them that chance to be able to adapt. Right, but I think, can I be honest? In the process of allowing that chance to adapt, there's a lot of damage that can be done.
Yeah.
Right, if you try pushing it and you try holding, that, you know what, this person just isn't changing. This person just isn't. Do you know what I mean? Right, it causes a lot more damage than good.
It depends how much involvement there is as well.
And this is the thing.
Some people are very involved. Some people aren't involved at all. And if
So-
they aren't involved, it's easier for
Yeah.
the husband and wife to get on with it.
What do you mean by involved? Do you mean as in the in-laws or the family members getting
In-laws?
involved?
Yeah.
That's a very good point, because a lot of feedback from married couples is that, and it's usually the men that makes this mistake, is that they involve their mother, the actual
Yes,
mother,
yes.
into private discussions. So I'm totally with the idea of your private matters should be between you and your wife only. But you see a lot of people, and I feel sorry for the girl, because you see a lot of men who, whatever problems they're having, they'll discuss it with their own mum.
And this is where the man needs to man up, innit?
Exactly.
He needs. Yes, it's hard, like obviously, to take, you know, look after both sides in terms of look after your family and you look after your wife as well. It's hard, of course. You don't want to be stuck in the middle, but it's your responsibility at the end of the day.
Mate,
you
if
know?
you're living in a joint family, you're always gonna be stuck in the middle.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's inevitable. Like as in, unless for example, look, bro, there's a simple saying, right? Like as in, you know, you can't have two cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? Like as in, you know, when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, that's a disaster waiting to happen. Right? You know, bro, you got to look at it this way, right? Your house, your mum and dad's house, yeah? They've lived a certain life. They've made their house. They've made it a certain way, right? Now, for someone else to come in who's lived a different life, we can break it down a little bit more, yeah? Right? Let's just break it down a little bit more. Your cousins, yeah? Your cousins, your relatives, those are probably the closest match to your upbringing, yeah? So, like, for example, because obviously their parents are siblings, right? So they would have had a similar upbringing as well, right? Now, your cousins will have a similar upbringing to you. And even they have differences, quite severe differences, right? Compared to the way you've been grown up.
Yeah.
Now, for example, now this is someone else. This is someone else, not even someone who's had a similar upbringing to yourself. Right? There's so many different types of personalities, so many different types of upbringings. So this is someone else who's come in, and now she may not be able to, like, for example, realize that, you know what, this household, they like their carpets hoovered, like, for example, every 2-3 times a week. She might come from a chilled background where basically it's done, like, once every
6 months.
something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You married the wrong person.
Oh, 100%, bro. You got a smelly one.
But bro, I think the woman should still give it a go. I don't think she could flog it off straight away.
100%.
You know, she should give it a go, live with family, see how we feel. If you don't like it, then obviously that's your
Yeah.
decision between the husband and wife to move out if they need to.
Completely.
But
agree.
at least you try. At least try.
Do you know what it is?
It'll make the husband feel so much happier as well. That the fact that she's
That's
at least
true.
trying
That's
to
true.
integrate with his family.
And I think this reflects back onto the question about expectation. I'll be completely honest. In our generation, people, especially girls, they're expecting too much of like a dream.
Yes.
They need to bring that back to reality, and you also need to question. They need to be more understanding. That's what I feel like. I'm not saying every woman, but I feel you need to take everything with a pinch of salt when looking to get married, because the truth is, your expectations, or even once you discuss this and the man says, yes, the expectation will be like this, just have it in your mind that it won't be like that. There could be a potential that it will change, because it's changing. It adapts. You have to go through it to be able to see what it's like. You can't just have an expectation in your mind and be like, this is what it's going to be. You don't know, because you've never been in that position. So I think for woman's side, just be a little bit more understanding, take things with a pinch of salt. Again, I'm not a woman myself, so what I would
He knows a lot, though. He knows a lot.
Do you know what it is? When you're working with a lot of women, that's all you're hearing.
Obviously,
it's Star Plus. Work is Star Plus. And
right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, bro. Basically, you're absolutely right. I think let's so obviously we've spoken a little bit about living with in-laws, yeah, and obviously we haven't actually touched on the karjamai topic, yeah. Sorry. Do you know what's karjamai? Where a man moves into the woman's house. Obviously, it does.
That's not a marriage, bro.
What are you saying, bro? What are you saying, bro? Bro, you got something to say there, bro.
Did the man forced to get married?
Bro, there's lots of families out there. For example,
listen, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, innit?
Exactly, man.
100%
That girl is earning double, bro.
Exactly.
I'm living with their family.
Bro, it could even be that
I'm hoovering their house.
It could even be that that's their only child, innit?
Yes.
Right? And some families, they can't let go of that. Or it could even be like, for example, her parents may be seriously ill, right? And they want someone, their son-in-law, to like.
No, but that's extreme case, isn't it?
Yeah, those are extreme.
But we're
cases,
talking in a choice.
Yeah.
Are we like, if they decide that, okay, the woman's like, all right, you need to live with me now. You need to leave your family, live with me. Are you doing it? Yes or no?
Bro, where's your head at?
I'm saying no straight.
No, look, listen, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's better to move out, as in move out from both households, if that's the case.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Rather than actually move in. I think I don't know. It's a really, really tricky one. However, obviously each circumstances are different, and therefore, respect to those guys who have done.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like, sometimes if you have to, you have to. And look, even if you do, look, you're making your wife happy. You're making her family
exactly
happy, man. If that's what it means, then that's what it means, isn't it?
This is what I'm talking about culture-wise. We're reacting about this because.
But why are you laughing for, bro? You got something to say, bro?
Yeah. No, bro. No. I'm just saying. No. Bro, I'm just. Obviously, apart from. Sorry, bro. I had a funny thought in my head. I was just thinking to myself. Obviously, there's serious examples where a man's got to move in, right? Yeah. There's some examples, isn't there, where basically the man's just like
a bum.
Like not even a bum, bro. But obviously, there's some mans who are, I don't know, like who ain't man, innit? I don't know. It's tricky. Like,
you're basing that on, again, culture. We were just talking about
culture.
No,
it's not culture, bro. It's not culture. Look, bro, if I had to be honest, yeah? If I had to be honest, this is my personal views, yeah? You guys ain't probably going to agree with me. I personally think it's better for a woman not to move in with her in-laws, right? I don't think it's the same vice versa. I don't think a man should be moving in with her in-laws, with his in-laws either.
By choice. Not by external factors, by choice.
By choice.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because I feel as though looking at the possibilities and the sort of issues, bro. Look, you've come up with the stats yourself. 70%. 70% is a big number. Why do you even want to take that risk of 70%? Right, bro. This is someone who you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, right? At the end of the day, focus on yourself. Have your priorities. Don't forget about your parents. I'm not saying that. Of course, bruv. She's got to do what she's got to do for her parents. Man's got to
vice versa, yeah.
Vice versa, right? A man's got to do what he's got to do for his parents. Have that agreement in place. Both man and woman need to be able to accept that, right? That what, I've got, as a man, my husband, he's got responsibilities with his family. As a woman, I've got responsibilities for my family. Do you know what I mean?
A very good point.
Yeah. But I think this is the trouble. This is the problem, right? Where a lot of the time, the minute the man starts focusing on his family, and a lot of the time the woman tries bringing equality into it. Yeah. Now you got to remember, yeah, from childhood, yeah, most families, they look at the older generation, right? They see most this. I'm talking historically now, yeah. Most women are mothers, for example. They've left their families and moved in with the father's family. Yeah. Traditionally, I keep saying traditionally because next man's are going to think that it's me. Yeah. No, traditionally, that's what's happened. So already from a young age, the daughter has always seen, or has always known that, you know what, I'm with my parents for a limited time. They've already mentally accepted, right, that, you know what, there's going to come a day I'm probably going to see my family maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks or something like that. Whereas as a man, you don't actually think that, right? So, you know, the trouble is when you actually move out, right, and the man still goes sees his family 2-3 times a week, right? Don't let that become an issue for the woman, because as a woman, she might turn around and say, "Oh, you know what? You're seeing your parents 3 times a week. I'm only seeing my family 2. You know, there's never any. You know, it's never going to be perfect. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're right. I think
these are other aspects as well. But yeah, guys, I don't know. Like, as in, look, let's you know, just focusing on the expectations of households, yeah. Because obviously we've spoken about living with in-laws. We've spoken about, you know, both vice versa, yeah.
I think what we need to summarize it and to add to that is to bring the audience involved as well. We need to think, okay, how can we make the best out of a situation like that? Because we're just stating what's happening in marriages and stuff, but we're not telling people what advantages there are. And I'll just touch on one quickly. For example, you have to think about, say for example, you are living, you know, you're a woman, you're living with your in-laws. Yes, you may have some clashes, but you have to think realistically, correct me if I'm wrong, but 80% of people in this day and age working a 9 to 5, both couples will have to work at one point, right? So we have to think, what are the advantages of a woman and the man living with their parents and their in-laws in one roof? And the answer is childcare. That's such a big factor, because you see in so many different communities where childcare is an issue. People are having to leave their job because there's no one to look after the children, because childcare is super expensive. It's more expensive to pay for childcare than your actual salary that you're earning. You know, that's just a fact. So we have to think about the advantages of living with the parents and living with your in-laws, and that is, you've got access to childcare. You can leave your child with someone who you know will look after your children in a way where you would like it to, that shares the same values, and then you both can go work, make your money.
I'll give another one. Sometimes, obviously, when the husband and wife argue and stuff, sometimes it's a bit too blown out of proportion. Sometimes it's a good idea to sort of get elders' perspective involved as well, because this is where in-laws can, you know, you can use in-laws to your advantage and try and get their perspective, get their opinion involved as well. Sometimes, you know, people can get into petty arguments, and sometimes it goes overboard. But this is where, you know, you can use your parents to be like, fine, you know, let me get my parents' opinion. And it should be neutral. You know. I mean, get both.
I don't even agree that. I honestly don't agree, because I can see the issues when you explain your issues.
No, let's just say you tried now to try to fix the issue by speaking. You know, husband and wife start speaking, but you can't come to a conclusion. Then you can still go to parents, right?
But with the permission of your wife.
Yeah,
that's what I think. If you can't go behind your back. Okay, then that's fair. If your wife agrees and you're like, let's get an opinion.
You know what? Look,
fair enough.
We're not really getting to any sort of point. Let me just ask my mum and dad, see what they say, and if she agrees.
Bro, I agree. I agree. Sometimes it's definitely worth exhausting that option.
Yeah.
However, you know, it's also worth bearing in mind, you know, is that individual parent a fair person? I know, bro, it's harsh.
But bro, listen, what do people do when they get into argument with someone?
Because parents can have one-sided.
No,
like, they're gonna back up.
Forget parents for a second.
Not all the time, bro. Not all the time, right? But
forget parents for a second. What do people usually do when they have an argument with their other half? They go straight to their friends. And what are the friends going to give you? They're going to give you biased advice, right? Yeah. Whereas if you go to your parents, it might be a little bit biased towards you, but they've got an elderly perspective. They've got wise views, wise opinions.
I feel like you should exhaust that option at the latest stage possible, because then the truth is, if you always have that in your mind that, okay, I can ask my parents for advice, even on little things you can go there and it can damage your relationship.
Bro, can I be honest? Speaking about parents, and and speaking to parents for guidance and advice. Bro, it happens. Everyone speaks to their parents. Whether they get involved in topics or not, that's a different story, right? But yeah, 100% seek advice from your parents. And bro, if any, I'm sorry, but bro, you heard this so many times, yeah, that a guy or woman ends up saying, you know what, nah, bro, listen, you know what, I don't talk about my marriage to my mum. That's a whole load of nonsense, bro. In my personal opinion, I think that's a whole load of nonsense. Your mum is literally like your best friend, right? For a girl. Right, she's gonna go speak to her mum about every single topic. So when you hear that, bro, just take that with a pinch of salt. Like, as in, and you guys out there as well, mate, don't fall for that, innit? Because, bruv, she's definitely speaking to her mum about every little thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just imagine your sister's gotten married, right? And she goes through certain experiences, and she wants to get an opinion of another woman who's got experience, right? She's gonna speak to her mum, right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't be judgmental on that at all. I think it's their right to be able to seek guidance from someone who's older, from their own background, might be able to give them some good advice, right? And so I totally agree. In terms of seeking advice, should speak to elders within the family, because they're the ones who can explain things better in most cases. Quite often, I do understand.
No.
I do also get what you mean. They don't necessarily have to start coming in and start getting involved in the argument. Like, as in, know that boundary, right?
There is a fine line. And you're very true. You've got a good point.
So yeah, speaking about, I'm just gonna touch on this now, yeah. So, like, for example, the expectations of a typical Desi household, yeah, because we haven't actually touched on that so much, right? So obviously, typical Desi households, right? The typical issues which a lot of viewers out there are probably going to come across this, right? Is going to be something like to do with they want their daughter-in-law. So this is a son's mother or son's father views. It could be they want their daughter-in-law to be a housewife, right? It could even be something like, for example, they also want her to be educated, right? First of all, one contradicts the other, yeah?
I think the housewife one is very, very common.
Very common.
And I come across so many people, even at work, there's so many people, their parents just they want the wife to be a housewife.
And it's sad to see.
What does that mean? Like as in, becoming a housewife, that also means, taking on the household responsibilities, right? Will entertain the guests who come into the house, right? Because obviously there's certain like family friends, especially if you're Pakistani or if you're from a Desi household, you're gonna get a lot of guests coming in.
So many guests,
mad guests, right? We'll keep the house tidy, we'll spend time with the family. We'll be proactive and wake up early, right? These are bro, they sound nitty gritty, right? But it's about, waking up early. Oh, mate, what? It's 12 o'clock. Why is she still sleeping?
Yes.
Bro, you come across this in a lot of like ARY dramas and stuff, but it is reality. It is reality. We'll now complete all the tasks that the mother used to do for her son, right? These are very important things, right? And at the same time, the guy's mum and father, they want limited input from the girl's family, right?
But this is where I think the man needs to step in.
100%.
The man needs to step in at this point. Because look, if you actually think about it, yeah, when a wife is married off, the responsibility falls... Well, before that, the responsibility falls on the father, right? The father takes on responsibility looking after the daughter and making sure she's looked after. Soon as she's married now, the responsibility is transferred then over to the husband, right? And that's in every sort of aspect, in terms of looking after her, in terms of financially, every sort of aspect, emotionally, everything. So at that point, the husband needs to man up now and be like, all right, look, I'm not, mum, you need to chill out. It's my wife, it's my marriage. Set the boundaries early.
That's it.
Set the boundaries very early, so then your mum doesn't need to get involved. If she has any problems, she can go through the husband, and the husband can, go through that route.
I just don't understand why the parents have a choice of how they want their son's wife to be like. At the end of the day, it's not the parents marrying the woman. The more private times you're going to have is going to be between the man and the woman. So for me, I feel like it's now man's responsibility, and if he doesn't commit to that responsibility, then they're gonna have problems in your marriage.
But bro, you know what the thing is, yeah? This list that I just mentioned, yeah? These are the sort of expectations that the family wants, yeah?
Yeah.
But then what does the woman go through? Right? Like as in because she's trying to fulfill this list, right, of entertaining the guests. Now, for example, bro, there's some families you can have guests like 3-4 times a week. Right? That increases a lot of burden on her, because she has to keep the house tidy. She's trying to keep this house tidy, or she's trying to chip in as much as she can. She's also trying to cook maybe once or twice a week, right? Spread that workload with the mother-in-law if possible, right? But then at the same time, you know, she's also trying to spend time with her husband.
Exactly.
Dude, by the time she's spending that alone and that intimate time with her husband, she's really exhausted. Do you know what I mean? She's really, really tired. She's really, really exhausted, mentally drained. She's going to work as well. Mate, as we all established, in today's world, a woman's got to go to work as well. Like, especially for long-term future investments and all that sort of stuff, right? So
I think it's hard to find a middle ground, though. I think the women are actually either doing one thing or the other. There's no like middle ground. Whereas a woman struggling in terms of fulfilling these expectations, or she's just straight up saying no.
Yeah.
There's no like, let me do a bit of it and let me
in between
hybrid
working.
It's hard.
Working from home 3 days a week, working in the office 2 days. It's sad.
It's
Do you know
hard,
why?
it's
And I
true.
really feel sad about seeing this, because it puts such a strain and the pressures on a married couple unnecessarily. At the end of the day, the way how the parents want the woman to be, it's like you're objectifying the woman. It's like we're only getting married on these conditions. This person has to do this. This person has to do this. At the end of the day, I just feel like, what's the need? Is it necessary?
Let's just finish off with what are the sort of signs that show incompatibility within the two families now. So obviously we've gone through the perspective of the husband, gone through the perspective of the woman, the wife. Now, what are the sort of signs that show incompatibility? Let's sort of talk about signs in terms of red flags, in terms of you just talk about red flags. What are the red flags?
The first one for me is when something is too good to be true. It usually is. So that's a red flag that I would advise people to spot. You know, when you are meeting for the first time, if you feel like, wow, someone's saying everything I want to hear, don't fall for it straight away. Because when you do meet someone for the first time, you're going to be on the top of your game. You can't, that's only going to last for so long. So my advice for the first one would be is when something is too good to be true, it usually is. So take things with a pinch of salt.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if someone is presenting as perfect, that's a sign of incompatibility.
It could potentially be a sign of incompatibility. Don't fall for it straight away, because then your expectation and reality is two different things, and you'll be let down later on when it's not.
Yeah, but that might just be, you're saying too good to be true. It might just be true.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
And you hope it's true.
Yeah.
You wish for it to be
But
true.
do you turn that away then?
No, you don't turn it away.
You
You don't turn it away at all. You continue ahead,
Yeah.
but just have it in your mind that it may not be fully transparent how it was said.
Of course, but that's
with everything.
That's with everything, then, isn't it? Though, because even if a rishta is not 100% perfect or coming across 100% perfect, there could still be, you know, that may not 100% be transparent as well, because obviously you don't know. There could be good bits which are quite hidden. I think signs of incompatibility, I don't know, it's a really tricky one, man. You know, but there are often quite a lot of signs. Yeah. Like, for example, bro, these are important topics here, which I personally don't really care so much about, right? But I know the older generations do, right? Which is like, for example, Hakmer.
Right,
yeah?
okay.
What is that?
Now, Hakmer is an Islamic thing, right? So basically, where you end up, I think there's a certain balance you give to the woman, right, as a security if the marriage doesn't work out, or something like that.
Dowry.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not dowry. Dowry is a cultural thing, right?
Okay.
But Hakmer is basically this is a woman's right, by the way, right? She can demand it before she gets married. I don't know the full details of it, in all honesty, right?
I thought dowry was a religion thing.
That's what I thought.
I'm pretty sure dowry is the religion
The
thing,
meher.
and it's the other way around. Hakmer is more cultural.
No, man.
Yeah.
No, man.
I'm not too sure, though. I can't really comment. I'm not too sure. But I think dowry is religious.
Viewers, let us know what you think, right? Obviously, you can tell we don't know much about this Hakmer and dowry, right?
Guys, can I just make a quick disclaimer? Yeah, this is just our thoughts and opinions, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want people to be at home be thinking, who are these lalu tattoos, bro?
Lalu tattoos. listen. You know what the thing is? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This conversation can go really, really deep.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. We still haven't even covered most of it, and there's going to be a lot more coming up.
Do you know what? We're going to cover that in part 2.
I think we need a part 2.
We are going to have a part 2.
We need a part 2.
So guys, stay tuned for part 2. This is actually good part 1, you know. I'll be honest. This is quite insightful.
Do you know what though? I'm more interested because I know, especially in an Asian community, there's a lot of people have experienced things. So we're intrigued. What have you guys experienced? Let us know in the comments, so we can even continue it on. And in our, maybe not in part 2, but in our next episode after that, we can talk about whatever questions were asked and discuss.
This is the thing. This is a big talking point. So we want you guys to sort of get your thoughts and opinions through the comments, and let us know what you guys think, because I'm sure everyone's gonna have a different opinion. Everyone's gonna have different thoughts and stuff.
And if you want to keep it anonymous, you can always just send us an email. And so do you want to say out the email?
It's
after5club2023 at gmail.com. After 5 Club was
Why was I so nervous? Why was I so nervous? It's like you asked me my email. I don't want to give my email.
It's like asking, what's your salary? You got stuck on me.
Yeah, guys, you can send us an email and we'll read through the read through emails.
Yeah, and we'll try keeping it as anonymous as possible. Come up with whatever sort of like marriage related issues you may have, and we can definitely touch on that and give our personal views. And
perfect.
Yeah, sounds good.
Follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram, show some support. Again, leave your comments and leave your thoughts down below so we can read them out maybe at some point. And we can go through them and we can actually discuss them in the next episode.
Definitely.
Yeah. Guys, thank you very much. This has been a very insightful episode, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Part 2 coming soon. Stay tuned.
Peace out.
Peace out there, guys.
Take care.